Good morning, Your Honors. Can you?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Please go ahead. Your appearances.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. I, Rondell Keller, am led by Mr. Royce Ford, Senior Counsel, and Mr. John Jeremy, Senior Counsel, and instructed by Mr. Meyer Robertson for the appellant, Ms. Misenga Jones.
Thank you. Yes, please go ahead.
You go to me next.
First
please.
respondent. Who's for the first name respondent? There's no parents for the Guyana Elections Commission. So we move on.
May it please Your Honors, I'm Kim Kite Thomas, and I appear on behalf of the second named respondent, Chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission.
Yes.
If it pleases Your Honor, Neil Boston, and I appear on behalf of the third named respondent.
Your Honors, Maxwell E. Edwards, led by the Learned Attorney General Basil Williams, Senior Counsel, he appears in person. Fourth respondent.
Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. May it please the court. I am Kashir Khan, and I appear along with Mr. Mohammed Khan and Mr. Kalesh Lokman for the fifth and sixth named respondents.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Khan. Could we move on, please?
May it please Your Honors, Devendra Kisoon, in association with Mohabir Anil Nandalal, Marcy Nadir Sharma, Clay Hackett, all led by Douglas Mendez, Senior Counsel. For the seventh and eighth respondents, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo and Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali.
May it please Your Honors, Kamal Ramkaran for the ninth respondent, Mark France, representing New and United Guyana.
Yes, thank you. And who's for the 10th name?
May it please Your Honors, I'm Harry Ramkaran. I appear for the 10th named respondent, Lennox Schumann of the Liberty and Justice Party.
Okay, thank you. The court can confirm that it has received a notice on behalf of the 7th and 8th respondents to contend for a variation of the High Court's order. That notice was received today. In effect, a cross appeal. Is that it? On behalf of the 7th and 8th, Mr. Mendez, yes, or Mr. Nandlal?
Yes, Your Honor, that is in fact so.
Yes.
We say that there are other grounds upon which the decision may be supported.
Yes, we have before us the grounds as well. Is there any other application before we move on?
If it please Your Honor, Timothy Jonas appears for Daniel Josh Kanai, representing the New Movement, the 11th named respondent.
You're for whom, Mr. Jonas? Mr. Jonas,
The
you're
11th
for
named,
which?
please Your Honor.
Which respondent are you for?
The 11th named respondent, please Your Honor, Daniel Josh Kanai, representing the New Movement.
Yes, I'm sorry that we moved on without hearing from you. So yes, we've made a note of that, Mr. Jonas.
Very good.
Anjeev Katadin, and I'm associated with Mr. Stephen Singh, Ms. Jamila Ali, and Mr. Donovan Rangaya for Mr. Vishnu Bandhu, represented the United Republican Party, the 12th respondent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Datadin. Again, I apologize for not hearing from you before. So all the appearances are noted. Is there any other application
Yes, please, Your Honors. The fourth name respondent would like to file a notice in cross appeal.
You haven't filed it as yet.
Not as yet, Your Honor.
So what's your application?
Well, I'm guided by the court.
Well,
I'll file in 24 hours.
But what is the nature of your application? What would it be?
Well, we are challenging the decision in most of it. Part of the decision, and we'll be able to lay over the appeal within 24 hours.
What will be your appeal? What exactly are you appealing?
We have several grounds of appeal. We're challenging, of course, the decision in relation to Order 60 and all the matters that are said to be res judicata. The question of Section 18 and Article 177, the constitutionality of those provisions.
So, Mr. Williams, the High Court had indicated that, well, it was indicated to the court at that time that appeals would be filed within 24 hours. We did get one today, a cross appeal, but we are about to set timelines for the submissions, and the submissions would have to include your cross appeal.
Yes, please.
So it would create some inconvenience if you haven't yet filed it, because we intend to hear this case on Saturday morning at 10.
We'll be, Your Honor, we'll be in time. We'll try to get us out in a couple of hours.
Pardon me?
We'll be able to get us out in a couple of hours.
No, but the arguments in relation to your appeal will have to be included in all the submissions that we expect to receive, according to the timelines that I'm about to fix. So when exactly are you planning to file your cross appeal? We would have to ask that you file it by email.
Yes, please, Your Honor.
That's in the course. When will you be able to file it?
We can file as directed, Your Honor.
Mr. Williams, we will deal with your cross appeal when the time comes, but the court is going to go ahead and fix the timelines for submissions. And
Your Honor, if I may, before you go on to that, I am not certain, but I have written to my friend, Mr. Robertson, pursuant to Order 2, Rule 21, regarding security for costs. I don't know whether or not that has reached your desk or is part of your file as yet. I pointed it out to the registrar when we settled the records. My understanding of the rule is that that has to be dealt with prior to the commencement of the appeal.
well, the court is not yet in possession of that application.
Your Honor, it is not an application. The rule provides that before I make that application, a written demand shall be made by the respondent. I was wondering.
Robertson, is there anything you wish to say about that? What the court can indicate to you, Mr. Khan, is that the court intends to deal with this matter with some urgency, and the question of costs will be dealt with at the conclusion of the hearing, which we well, certainly at the time the court gives its decision, which will be quite shortly. So my colleagues on the bench will indicate their position, but I really don't see why you would want to delay the court on the question of security for costs. The court is making arrangements to proceed with this matter expeditiously. And
Your Honor, if I may, the intent here is not,
hold.
I understand completely, Your Honor, and the intention here is not to delay the court, but I've been instructed to make the application, and I'm simply following the rule, and would simply like an indication from my friend, Mr. Robertson, regarding what the position of his client is. And based on that, one way or the other, I am prepared to move on.
Mr. Robertson, anything you wish to say in response, or you're being asked to respond? What's your response?
Your Honor, I will confirm that I did get the letter from my learned friend, Mr. Kashir Khan. The position of the applicant, Your Honor, is similar to the position just expressed by the court. We don't believe that the court should be preoccupied with that at this point, as this is a matter of national importance and national urgency.
What's your position on costs, security for costs?
Your Honor, we don't believe that there's a basis for a request for security for costs at this point.
I am guided, Your Honor. Most grateful.
Your Honors, just to clarify what you had indicated.
All right, to deal with Mr. Khan's application or Mr. Khan's request first.
Yes, I thought he was
not inclined to press on the issue of security for costs in light of the schedule that the court intends to follow for the hearing of this case. And so we will move on. Mr. Khan?
Most grateful, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Yes, please, Your Honor. You mentioned that we were given 24 hours, but that was the appellant. We have received the appellant's appeal, and we would like to file a cross appeal. We have some grounds we wish to address, but we weren't given the 24-hour timeline. And that's why we are asking the court now in that regard. And we will undertake to get this file, as I had said earlier, within 24 hours, but I could try and get this out in a couple of hours.
All right, Mr. Williams, what we can do, we will proceed with the scheduling of the hearing as today's hearing was intended to do. We are going to fix the timelines for submissions.
Yes, please.
The court is going to deal by email with your application. We will be in touch with the attorneys involved in the case when the court sees your cross appeal. Until such time, we will proceed with what we have. And so, Mr. Williams, we will give you until when? Tomorrow morning to file your cross appeal?
Yes, please. Yeah. I'll try to get
that will be by 8 a.m. to file your cross appeal.
As it pleases you.
Your Honor, before the court embarks on fixing the timelines, I wish to inform the court that the third named respondent does not intend to participate in this appellate process.
All right, Mr. Boston, thank you. Yes, so the timelines are as follows. The submissions on behalf of the appellant to be sent by email by 9 a.m. tomorrow, Thursday, the 23rd of July. The respondent submissions are to be filed by midnight on Thursday, the 23rd. And in the submissions of the respondents, we would expect submissions by the 7th and 8th respondents in relation to their cross appeal to be included. So Mr. Mendez and Mr. Nandlal, Mr. Kisoon, and other counsel for those respondents. We expect that in addition to replying to the appellant submissions, you would also include your submissions on the cross appeal.
Understood, Your Honor.
And all the respondents are expected to file their responses by, as I said, midnight on Thursday. You will give the appellant until midday on Friday, the 24th, to reply to the submissions of the respondents, as well as to reply to the notice, to the submissions in relation to the cross appeal. So Mr. Jeremy, Mr. Ford, and other counsel for the appellants, in your final reply, you will include your reply to the submissions on the cross appeal. Now, would you, Mr. Mendez and Mr. Nandlal, want further time? Or do you think that you can deal with any reply in your oral arguments on Saturday? Would you want extra time for a further reply on the cross appeal?
I think, Your Honor, it'll probably be the safest to give us the opportunity to reply in writing on Friday as well, so that the court will have our views before the hearing on Saturday.
And therefore, by 4 o'clock then, or 6 o'clock on Friday for your reply in writing?
6 o'clock would be more than adequate, Your Honors.
All right, so your final reply on the cross appeal will be sent by email to the court and to all parties by 6 p.m. on Friday, the 24th. And so that's the schedule for the hearing, which will take place on Saturday at 10 and conclude on the same day. Now we have some specifications that we want to lay out in relation to the submissions and the length of your submissions. We ask that those submissions be condensed into no more than 10 pages. And the font we ask to be no less than size 12, and the spacing 1.5 lines. So we expect that there will be compliance with our requests, because we are concerned to expedite the hearing of the case, and we believe that the submissions can be condensed as we suggest. So we ask for compliance. Yes?
Sorry, Your Honor, is there any particular font you would require us to use?
No.
Because the fonts at 12, it may be of different sizes. Depending on the font that you use, size 12 may be of a different size.
What do you suggest, Mr. Mendez?
Well, in the court below and in the CCJ as well, we were required to use Times New Roman.
Well, we can adopt that. We can adopt Times New Roman, size 12, 1.5 lines in 10 pages.
Much obliged, Your Honor.
Yes. So,
Your Honor,
yes?
If I may, Your Honor, a practice direction was issued in our courts, which allowed for 2 additional fonts. That is Courier New and Ariel. I mention that, Your Honor, simply because it has been my experience that Courier in particular is a little bit more
All
legible.
right, Mr. Khan, we wouldn't split hairs over.
I just mentioned that, Your Honor, if we can be allowed to use either of those two additional fonts. But
yes, you can do so. Please go ahead and do that.
Guided.
Yes, so those are the choices, and size 12. So as I was saying, we intend to conclude the hearing on Saturday. And on Saturday, we will indicate when our decision will be rendered. Is there anything else that any of the parties would wish to bring to the court's attention?
Your Honor, if I may, Devendra Kisoon, just with respect, is there a speaking time limit?
Oh, yes, yes. Time limits for submissions. Half an hour to the appellant on Saturday and 20 minutes. I think that was the schedule in the High Court, 20 minutes for each of the respondents. We start at 10, we will take a 15-minute break at 12:30 and continue until the end. And the appellant will have another half hour to reply. But we'd have to we'll leave it open in relation to the cross appeals, whether any further time in reply would be necessary. So is there anything else any counsel would want to raise?
May it please, Your Honor. May it please, Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Ford?
Yes, please, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. In relation to the timelines that you have said, we understand that the court would like to deal with the matter expeditiously. Your Honor, speaking for the other counsel that appeared for the appellant, we were hoping that at least that we could have had a few hours more in order to properly put the submissions before the court within the time frame, general time frame that the court had in mind for the hearing of the appeals. Your Honor, I was asking whether it is possible for us to have at least until 12 o'clock tomorrow instead of 9 as indicated by the court.
So that would affect the other submissions.
I don't think so, Your Honor. They have daylight hours, Your Honor. Many of the information that we may need access, as we have experienced in the past, Your Honor, having to work the submissions during the night, we were not able to have access to them during the nights, Your Honor.
So you will take a shorter time on Friday to reply.
On Friday.
So you are to reply by midday, and we had ordered the respondents to send in their submissions by midnight tomorrow. So if you wish until 12, then we may have to give the respondents until next morning. Is there any response on that from any of the respondents?
Your Honor, speaking
yes.
Sorry, speaking for myself, if you would extend it to maybe 3 a.m. on the Friday.
I see.
I don't know if that would fit the convenience of my learned friends for the respondents.
But is that extension accepted by all the respondents instead of midnight, 3 a.m. by email?
We would agree to that, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, your voice is very faint on my system. When can we expect the submissions by the appellant?
They've asked for midday tomorrow. And so I've asked the respondents if they would be willing to push back on how much extra time they would need if we give Mr. Ford and his colleagues until midday instead of until 9 a.m. tomorrow. So if we give them until midday, how much more time would you need from midnight tomorrow night? Mr.
Yes, I
Mendez?
heard my friends, Mr. Mendez and Mr. Datadin, about 3 o'clock. That is quite all right with me. Thank you very much.
That's adequate for you, Mr. Jonas? All right, so that's the adjustment that we've made. 3 a.m. for the submissions of the other respondents. And the reply by the appellant by midday on Friday. And of course, at 6 o'clock for the 7th and 8th to reply on the cross appeal. So thank you very much, Counsel. Mr. Williams, we will await your cross appeal and we will be in touch by email. So the hearing is fixed for Saturday at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Most grateful, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Much obliged.
Thank you.
Grateful, Your Honor.
Very much, Your Honor.
Guys.